So I came on as the vice president within the startup. So I've been doing that for last a little over 4 years, and so I had never done a lot with healthcare, but healthcare is a very interesting industry, and there's a lot of healthcare manufacturing. To your point earlier, is moving to North America because they realize now what they're having shortages of key supplies, and they're realizing that they don't want to have those. They can't afford to be going offshore for those supplies for the healthcare companies. So there's definitely a growth opportunity where people are going to be investing a lot in manufacturing, and I could definitely see that region being a beneficiary of that. So that's interesting. And then in February, I went part-time. So I negotiated an arrangement where I could start consulting again on the side while still working for the healthcare company. So now I'm working with a bank in Asia, where I have an old relationship there, and that's very interesting in that it's a very aggressive move to set up digital platforms for banking. So think of it as there's a lot of digital payment platforms like Apple Pay and WeChat Pay and PayPal. But none of them are part of a bank, a full service bank. And so what they're doing is actually bringing those together, where they actually have a full service bank that has a online digital platform, and they are really changing how banking is being done, and getting it very interesting doing it in a place that nobody expects anything innovative to happen, and they are getting global attention for what they're doing. So I've been able to help with that, and unfortunately I just started traveling to Asia again when the pandemic hit. So I've been supporting them from afar, which makes for some early morning and some late night conference video calls to try to manage the time zones. And then I'm working with a interesting new startup business that's going to be doing health exposure testing. So a lot of data collection and a lot of understanding how different health remedies and health issues move through a population. So we'll be looking at both COVID-19 as well as the use of cannabinoids or CBD as a use within the population. So I have an interesting array of topics that are keeping me very busy, because all three of those have actually, the complexity has gotten more so with COVID-19. So
absolutely, yeah.
So it's a good challenge to have, but I wouldn't mind getting a little more sleep than I have been lately.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you mentioned two areas, both in healthcare and technology, that are very, we have 19 projects in the area. Of the 19, we have 2 or 3 that are related to, from ventilators to the topic of telemedicine. And there, of course, tracing, which you describe basically, it's another interesting component. Moreover, the fact that in a border zone, we have an additional challenge that is, by the very nature of business in Arizona mega region, or El Norte, as it's called historically, people constantly go from one sanitary environment and system to another. Probably uses healthcare both sides, and applications may or may not talk, but it's a very interesting ground also to say, okay, if we want business to work, and both governors want to, and of course the chambers of commerce, we have to study or to think in terms of make information available and people able to track things. So they have specific projects. So I think that one interesting thing could be maybe in a couple of weeks when we have the information to schedule a meeting. So, and I send you in advance the project so you can tell us, okay, what things you think could be helpful, or you can see an opportunity to work as the lab, as part of this small network we have established, to get back to the old concept that we should start from social impact, but work with the tools of process engineering and business process. So we should apply everything that applies, but in a new environment, which is the interesting part of it. No, it's not business as usual.
No, it isn't. Well, which always creates opportunity, and so that's it'll identify who the risk takers are and who, you know, there are resources out there that are looking for opportunities to invest. And it's just a matter of finding the right ideas to be able to invest in.
Exactly. I think that the early screening is what I would describe this period as. Of course, we cannot tell anything on the business front more than the obvious level of change, but we can look at different things and people who can, if they know already, we save a lot of time.
Yes.
In discovering who's who and how much can we work together. So great. So we can give it a try then.
Very good. Just out of curiosity, are there any venture capitalists that you're in the network that where there might be funds for particularly good business models, good business ideas?
Yes. I work here in Chicago. I'm working now with two kinds of funding. One is the international. I have USA, the World Bank, and IDB. But on the other side, I'm working with Kaufman Foundation and other funds that are interested in this process of screening possible projects. What we do as an institute now is like, it's funny because this is something we worked through with your father. We were basically in three different situations: planning stage, incubation stage, and what we call acceleration or placing in the market. And in many cases, what we have in our program is creating a sustainable system that will help one or more than one business to move on. So when we find this array of projects, we try to figure out which stage they are at. So now I'm helping several of them in the acceleration stage. So my round 5, not this, next, I will be basically setting the rules for, okay, if you want to get the attention of the funds, we have to work the next 3-4 months to put you in shape.
Yes.
So you can really pitch to these guys and make sense. By the way, it's better to take these 4 months, because if you pitch now, it will not make any sense.
Yes. Yeah.
The guys will be saying, okay, give me 3 months to answer. So I will, but the idea is to get ready for whatever. Yes. In short, the answer is yes, I'm working.
Very good. Yeah, it's always interesting. Yes, you can pitch it now, but your evaluation will be this, or you can wait and pitch it and your evaluation will be this.
Exactly. But the idea is to, what things are they looking at and what things are they interested in knowing better? That's another thing. I keep an eye on on that. They
So you're in Chicago. So I'm assuming you've been in Chicago for a while now. So
yeah.
you're grounded.
Oh yeah. I've been living here for the last 22 years, but I work for Andersen. I made partner in '84. I retired in '87 and started my own company. Then I was living in Argentina, but my home base was Chicago and St. Charles and PED and all that stuff. And when I started my own company, of course, all the network continued to exist. Uh, I was lucky to leave Andersen before the bad days, but my wife used to work for them until Andersen disappeared and continued with Grant Thornton. And I'm still around. I mean, we work a lot with some local initiatives like you. I did very little business in Chicago area proper, but I have business with University of Chicago. Here's a Glitcher Center nearby, and well, I'm an alumni in the business school. So, but basically. My home base is here, although I do conduct business from Buenos Aires and from Barcelona as well.
Okay. So how did you first get connected with everybody in Monterey?
Oh, you mean Itzon? Yeah,
yes.
Sonora. Yeah, well, that was Roger Kaufman.
Okay.
Roger has this relationship with one of the first rectors that was in the long line of rectors at Itzon, and for more than 10 years they kept inviting him to talk about Mega, etc. Until one of these more recent rectors, Gonzalo, came with the idea, he's an economist, with the idea of applying this to specific projects. And then Roger thought it was a good time. I have worked with Roger, brought Roger to Argentina to a couple of projects. I work a lot in the oil industry. And we have certain social problems there, so we decided to create an early version of corporate social responsibility, let's put it that way. And it worked very well. And then he told me, okay, let's do something similar in Sonora. I think they are ready, and he was right. I mean, we worked for 4 or 5 years setting up this program for graduating companies and communities.
Very good. So you're also limited in terms of your ability to get to the Sonora region, especially given current climate.
Oh yeah. I worked for 5 years, basically going every month. Your father was coming every other, but we had this regular contact with the first 2 cohorts that were a mix. We have people who were going for a PhD, people who were managers of the projects, and we have also, I designed a system in which the sponsors, the venture capitalists, had to enroll as well. So those who had their money there were participating in each one of these different projects, and we kept track of. I mean, the homework was basically, the academic work was all tailored to the nature of the projects. So we flipped the classical academic model, putting the field work first, and then the conceptual following that.
Nice. Actually, that's a great opportunity. I can see how it'd be very logical for you to follow the people who've come out of that program, and whether the businesses, whether existing business or another business after that, there would be opportunities.
Exactly. Instead of having to define your major and your PhD topic at the end, you have to define it at the beginning. You bring your baby, and we help you raise the baby through the process, and we discovered that was, I mean, we have very little attrition. Only at the very beginning, when we discovered the guys were not serious about it.
Yeah, right.
But and that's why we had this second stage where they outgrew Sonora and they want to go into Arizona. And they
Mm,
thought, okay, this crisis is a perfect moment because everybody is less defensive. Is looking at survival mood is always helpful.
yes. Well, thank you. Actually, that's helpful because I'd forgotten what the Itzen model was, and I'd gotten I always got some updates on what my father was doing with you, but didn't have any direct exposure. So it's helpful to be reminded. So thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Your father used to make jokes because I remember one day we were in I think we were in Tucson, yeah, and he said, we are kind of the Electras. So you took us out of the mothball. And I said, well, every now and then you have to do it because the people who participants were really enjoying having to talk with someone who was not quoting, but direct quoting.
Yes, yes,
And it was very very interesting because of course Dale and Gary and Roger, and so they were all very strong in their fields, and but they never had the opportunity to work together.
yes. Yeah, it was quite interesting. For as long as they knew each other, they really hadn't had a chance to work together.
Yeah. So I was beneficiary because it was very interesting dinners and times that you spend a week together there in every month, so you start knowing better the person,
Mm,
and we were switching from I was among the uh, involuntary interpreters, uh, but it was very interesting to get to have this um, exchange, and people were really really taken with your father. Um, Besides the obvious technical
mm,
topics, um, he also was very liked because he was, very straightforward.
yes, yeah. It was kind of interesting combination of straightforward and having a sense of humor. And the people oftentimes didn't expect both.
Oh yeah, yeah. and and as I told them, because it was so funny, Dale has more an academic background, like Roger, and your father and I we came basically from the consulting side.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very refreshing experience because one of the conditions they set for this institute was we don't want to be a part of your university. That's rule number one. We may call the professor or whatever you want to call it, and we are going to put your university to put the award to give the degrees, but our main purpose is to be more linked to developing organizations and to be like a lab in a way
Mm-hmm.
that we can work the way we want without having a academic set of committees making things complicated.
Yes,
So
very good.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you finding me, and
Oh, my pleasure. I'm happy
I,
to have.
I look forward to renewing the contact. And so I'll be. I have I'm doing many things, but I generally am pretty flexible in my schedule. So whenever you're
Okay,
able to bring the others together, let me know, and I should be able to make it work.
perfect, perfect. I will do this, and well, let me know if you find anything that you think I should be aware of. The
Okay.
next 2 weeks, I'm going to be involved in this, finishing this preliminary round of identifying projects, and then I will get back to you to have this conversation.
Great.
Okay?
Excellent.
Great to see you.
You as
Thank you.
well. My pleasure. It's a great way to finish the day. So always nice to be able to make old contacts new again.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, your mother?
She is well. She's living in Pennsylvania now, so she
Oh,
is. She moved east. She doesn't appreciate the cold, but she appreciates being
yeah.
closer to my brothers. But
Oh, okay.
she's in good health and trying to stay away from pandemic in Pennsylvania, which has been pretty hard hit area. But she's doing very well, thank you.
Send her my regards. I always remember her.
I definitely will.
Great. Well, take care. See you
Thanks, you
soon.
too. It was a pleasure.
Likewise.
Talk to you soon.